Whenever you are ready.
Well, I'm ready. We're doing it live, kind of, but recording.
Not really live then.
Yes.
Okay.
So one of the things that we wanted to talk about together was the effect that how much our environment around us affects our inner selves, right?
Yeah.
So I did not grow up in the city. I grew up kind of in the woods on the side of a town in middle America that didn't have a lot of stuff around it.
Right.
You grew up
in the city.
Yes, definitely in the city. Bustling metropolis.
I mean, it's less metropolis.
Was it more like Gotham City?
No. I mean, it's a city, but it's not. I mean, it's not like New York City or downtown city. It's, suburby part of city, but not really suburbs.
Suburban. You lived in the
neighborhood
area.
Parts of city.
Right. You were in the area that was like the south extension of the city previously. And then it's just kind of continued to build up around.
That is accurate. Yeah.
Right. Because at one point, your neighborhood probably was a suburb, but has not been a suburb for probably 100 years.
Right.
At this point. So, and I think we were reminded how much different we are recently when we went back to middle America. And I know for me, getting out of the city is very relaxing.
Yeah.
And
it was for you.
The buzz constantly has me going. The buzz of the city.
Yeah.
And the constant movement and everything. And you can just feel the movement in the air. Whereas when you get out in the country or get out in the woods, everything...
Stagnant.
It's not stagnant. It just seems that...
It's slow.
Everything slows down and that your body can actually not feel the buzz of all the movement. Right?
Yeah, that's accurate.
But we also found out that you going to the middle...
I think I might have a touch of agoraphobia.
Yeah. Maybe... and I wouldn't say it's...
like a dash. And if it were to come up in my recipe, it'd be maybe a pinch or a dash or it wouldn't be like a full serving of something. It'd be one of those specialized spoons. It's not a big thing. It's just, as long as I stay in a city, it's a miniature part of the ingredient list.
Yeah, but I wouldn't even call it agoraphobic as much as I would say it's not what you grew up in, so it doesn't provide you relaxation.
That is very true.
Whereas that's what I grew up in, and I could feel my body. It's like part of it, the tension of the constant movement just go away because there was such open spaces where you could see from side to side, and the hill was the curvature of the earth rather than having any other hills. And you got a little bit of anxiety about it.
I mean, yeah. I think I covered it well, but I think it was more than just a little.
You think it was more than just a little?
Yeah, I mean, there was 180 degrees of sky. It just...
I know.
Felt like I was drowning in air. It was too much. It was
blue. There was no pollution.
Yeah, but there was also nothing on the horizon. It was better when we got to an on-ramp.
The hills of the on-ramp.
Yeah.
Of the interstate.
Yeah. Or when someone had trees along their property line and it limited the horizon view from 180 to 150.
Right. Because as soon as we got back, you're like, oh, there's trees. I only have tunnel vision. This is great.
Well, yeah. Then it's 90 degrees. And you think maybe it's 45.
It's more like 45.
Because there's just stuff lining everything. There's trees. And there's also buildings.
How do you do with water?
I expect it to be a great expanse. But when I turn around me, there's giant dunes. It's not like I turn around and the entire earth is just flat around me.
Right.
It's just, there's always still hills behind me.
You really like to be walled in, is what you're saying.
Not walled in. I don't know, maybe. I enjoy the fact that we live in the middle of like a mountain bowl, that you can see the Olympics on one side and Rainier and its foothills on the other side. And, but I do like the ocean. I enjoy like how peaceful it is.
So when we go on our cruises, we've been on 2 so far.
Yeah.
Right. And when we get out into open water, that's even worse than being in the middle of the U.S.
Straight horizon. I think that I choose to not look at it.
You just look at the stuff on the boat and just don't look at the horizon, huh?
Yeah, or I look one way and I just assume that there's something behind me. I know that when I look at water, it's less like anxiety inducing because it's water. I don't know. I was raised going to the ocean.
Yeah.
And you stand on the shore and you look out and you see the horizon. There's nothing there. And so I think that is normal when you see water, that you see horizon as well. It's just not when it comes to land. I remember when I lived in Indiana before, I would imagine that at the end of the highway, that the clouds at the end were foothills because it made me feel more comfortable and I missed home. And it was what I was used to, was seeing foothills at the end of the roads. And so I would just imagine that that's what it was.
Right. And definitely for sure. Sometimes those clouds definitely look like mountains at the end of the road because there'll be light on top and they're very dark on bottom.
Yeah.
The only real problem comes when those clouds start swirling.
Yeah, but I like natural disasters. So.
Yes.
So for me, it's just always exciting when that happens.
Unless you're telling me, get inside while I'm standing out and it's going crazy.
Well, when the sky turns from black to green, that's kind of an indication that something's about to go down and probably a tornado.
Oh, yeah. But then your inner tornado chaser comes out. You're like, let's go.
Yeah, when the sirens hit, I'm like, oh no, we're in danger. And then the rest of me goes, but are we? Are we,
For
though?
sure. So the reason this whole topic comes up, it was just brought more to the forefront of our minds when we went back to Indiana. But we've been planning to have a conversation like this for quite some time because at this point, I guess it was 6 months ago, time has been flying by with being busy with things. But about 6 months ago when the snow hit and the snow was making everything look white and clean.
And beautiful. I heard in a movie once that snow is Spanx of the earth.
That is the truth.
Just smooths everything out, makes everything look good and fresh.
Right. Well,
and it's so accurate.
And even in the middle of the U.S., when everything is brown and nasty looking, you put a nice layer of snow on it, it looks great compared to what it was looking like. So the snow had fallen. It was nice and cold out. Like you could look out our front window and see the snow reflecting in the street light as it was coming down, making this nice hue and nice white everywhere. And it just a nice cozy night to sit in the house and just be together. And then something even better happened.
Yeah. The power went out.
Right. The power went out.
I love it.
Right.
I love when the power goes out.
Right. Because you get to light candles and you just get to snuggle and just kind of time stops because
make toast on the stove.
We have an electric stove.
Growing up, like we had gas stove, and so our our stove still worked, and so we would use tongs and we would make toast.
That's it. We're getting a gas stove.
So we can make toast.
Yeah.
But it was like, something that we did when the power went out was light candles and get cozy and make toast.
Right. And it's like time stops because there's nothing there to tell you there's a time.
Right. There's no sound anymore for anything.
Right. And that's another thing that we were going to talk about is the fact that every sound in the house gets shut off.
Yeah. I mean, unless you have like a battery powered clock. But I mean,
Right.
Who has those anymore?
Right. So it's the fridge isn't running anymore. Your furnace isn't going.
Yeah. No electricity in the house is like humming.
Right.
The whole house is dead.
And
There's
then-
no electricity outside. There's no and especially when it's snowy, it like absorbs sound.
and it insulates.
And so there's a lot of sound that you don't hear.
Right. You don't get the buzz from the interstate. You don't get the buzz of people just moving around and people driving up and down the road.
Right.
And all that. That stopped beforehand because snow out here is like the stop sign for everybody.
I mean, everything is a stop sign for everybody. It rains like 90% of the year, and yet still it rains, and people go, oh my gosh, what do I do?
Well, right. And the sun comes out and they're like mole children. They're like, I'm blind.
It's too bright for me. I cannot see.
But, so you have the sound deadening of the snow where you
Yeah.
can't hear the buzz of the city. And then your power goes out and then the buzz of your house goes away.
Yeah, it's glorious.
And just the amount of relief psychologically.
Well, I think your
comes.
body just feels it. Because I know when it happened, we were just like, almost like our bodies just took a breath. Like, okay, we are relaxing, whether we wanted to relax or not. Like, and then there was nothing else to do. You can't. I mean, you could be on your phone, but you turn your phone off because you don't know how long your power is going to be out. So you
Right.
don't know if you're going to need to call for help. So you turn it off and you deal without it and you do other things and light candles and play games and cuddle and talk. And then you realize that like in the middle of winter, so here in Washington in the winter, it's dark for a lot of the day because
More than
we're so
12 hours.
because we're so far north. So it'll get bright around 8.
9.
Yeah, I mean sometimes in the like dead of it,
winter, yeah.
it's like it gets bright at night. I mean it starts at like 8, and then it's dark. It starts getting dark at 3:30, and it's dark by 4:30, and so I mean you really just get like 8 hours of sunlight.
Right.
So yeah, it gets really dark really early. But then on the other hand, when it's summertime, it doesn't. I mean, it gets bright, starts getting bright at like 3:30, and it's like in the middle of summer, it'll be like full bright at 4:30 in the morning, and then you have daylight until 11 o'clock at night, and so
Yeah.
there's less than 8 hours of dark,
Right.
which is fantastic for summertime. But
But in that, like, just focusing on the fact of, like, the power going out, our bodies taking a breath, you no longer have the hum of the house. You no longer have the hum of society around you. And, for me, it's like going into the country or into the woods where I get some of that relief because I don't have the hustle and bustle of everything around me. And it gets even more so when the power goes out because it feels like the man-made expectations of this time and that time and I need to do this and I need to do that all kind of fade away in a sense because the power to do those things is gone.
right. Well, and if you had plans with someone, like let's say we had dinner plans we could have gone out if the power was out somewhere else or was on somewhere else. But you tell someone like, oh, my power's out. And they're like, oh my gosh. Oh, totally get it. We'll reschedule. Like, it's just this thing that people understand is your power's out. Yeah, you for sure need to stay home.
Right.
Like, for no reason. You can leave the house. It's not like
it's going to get up and walk away.
Right. I mean, yeah, it's not, someone's not going to be like, oh, the power's out. We're going to break in specifically tonight.
Right.
It's, it just looks like the house is sleeping. But, yeah, but it's just a common knowledge. Power's out. Oh, do you want to come over?
Right.
Or you're like, no, I think we're going to stay home. Okay. Yeah, you should stay home. Like, it's just when people have their power, I'm like, well, you want to come over? I'll cook you food. You can hang out in the warmth, especially if it's winter time.
Right.
But our house is pretty insulated. And so. Right.
Well, and one of the things that one of my previous coworkers used to do when the power would go out, he had a young family in his neighborhood that only had electric heat, so he had a wood-burning stove, so he'd have them over and let them sleep in the living room so that they could stay warm.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it would be different if we had, like, Texas winter.
Right.
Where everything, like, froze over, and people's pipes are freezing, and, like, they just didn't know how to handle that stuff.
Well, they didn't have the infrastructure to handle the stuff.
No. I mean, for one night, it's like, oh, this is so great. But if you have to go a week without power, that's completely different.
Right.
Then, like, the busyness of trying to survive sets in.
Right.
So I think it only, the relaxation of having nothing is only great for like a 24-hour period, and then after that you have to
like 2 day, because you can keep your fridge shut enough that it's not going to harm your food,
right?
And you can keep your freezer shut enough that it's not going to harm your food,
right?
So,
or grab stuff out, put it out in the snow,
right?
And then just use a grill if you don't have an electric grill. If you've got like charcoal or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. So then I think after that, there's the busyness of trying to survive.
Right.
So it's definitely not like
short-lived.
Yeah.
It's because, I mean, yes, it would get super crazy if it's longer than that, because it's just, you have to figure out a way to survive. You have to figure out a way to keep heat in your house. You have to, all of the things that you can no longer do because you don't have power.
Right. Well, the other thing that we found out was that when you don't have any expectations and you don't have anything to do, you play a game and then you're like, you know what, I'm tired. And we went to bed at like 8.
Right.
It was dark when we had played a game and we were getting sleepy, and there was no phone to play on. There was no TV saying one more episode.
Right.
There was there was nothing. And so we just went to bed and laid in bed and talked. Mm-hmm. And the sky was the outside was still kind of bright because the moon was shining on the snow. And so we just talked until we fell asleep. That was nice. Mm-hmm. I had heard a study once that they put, I don't remember how many adults, but they put them into a pitch black room. There were no clocks, there were no lights, nothing. And they found that after a few days that people would just go to sleep, and then they'd wake up after 4 hours, and they'd be awake for about an hour or two, and then they'd go back to sleep for another 4 hours, and then they'd wake up. And they found that it happened with every single person. That your body just, like, apparently we're not supposed to sleep 8 hours straight. That people who wake up in the middle of the night, like, that's just what you're supposed to be doing, I guess.
Yeah, except for not everybody's. Everybody who does that I know is not very well rested.
I think, well, there also is, like, other things involved in that, but
it could be. But
I mean, if you think of like earlier civilizations,
I'm sure they would wake up. They would wake up early.
Wake up, stoke the fire, wake up, make sure that there are no animals, wake up that, you know. Mm-hmm. Like, I can't imagine biblical people just sleeping all night long for 10 hours and be like, well, that was fantastic. Because then your fire is gone and there might be
I think that might be
whatever
the
animal.
difference between city dweller and outside city dweller or homestead dweller.
Probably.
Because I would think that more so that would, even in biblical times, be happening in the city versus the shepherds. Because the shepherds, I'm assuming, would have had a road, like, traveled somewhat in a band of brothers, per se.
So they could be one on watch at all times?
Right. And so that they don't have to worry about wolves and whatnot like that. But once you get in the city and you no longer have that agriculture mindset to take care of stuff, we tend to get a little softer, tend to get things get easier in some aspects where you don't have to get up in the middle of the night to tend something because it's you don't have anything to tend because your job is not that.
Well, I wonder why it happens then. I mean, because they did it with a bunch of different people, men and women, different ages, and they all did the same thing. It all went in about 4 hours. They woke up and were awake for an hour or so, and then they went back to sleep, and then...
Well, that also, it could have happened with them, because if that's the study and they were only doing that, then maybe they reset their clocks, reset their body's rhythm after a while, and...
Unless we're supposed to just sleep in 4-hour chunks.
Yeah, I don't know. That's above my head. I like my sleep.
They say, yeah, well, if it came to a wolf being somewhere, you would die. A wolf would just eat you in your sleep.
Maybe, but there's other times where I've had to be
awake.
awake where I just didn't sleep.
I'm just saying.
You
sleep real hard.
I do.
If there was like something crinkling leaves or something outside, you would get eaten.
Yeah. Sometimes though I do wake up easy camping, but other times not so much.
Mm-hmm. A lot of times not so much.
Well, you know. if you snore like I do, they don't mess with the bear.
I mean, they might. There's like, is that the dinner bell ringing? Probably.
Because the raccoons always went for our food tent instead of coming towards us.
Well, that's also because it's a food tent.
Well, you know.
But yeah, it was nice to be able to just sit and have everything go silent, and like your body just felt the silence. Mm-hmm. So, it is weird though that like when it's silent, it's not silent to me. Silence is so loud to me.
I think it's your ears are used to having noise, and the lack of noise, it's almost like a tinnitus thing.
Yeah, it's so loud. Mm-hmm. Like when people just put on like noise canceling headphones, and there's nothing in there, and all you hear is silence. Like the silence has a sound for me. It is very loud.
Except for if it's active noise canceling, it's actually emitting tones to cancel out the outside sound.
Well, I guess I'm talking about when we go shooting, and I have my ears on.
Earmuffs.
It just
yeah,
deadens everything, except for what's going inside my brain.
Right.
But my body definitely felt it. Felt the quiet and the calm and the lack of expectations. And, you know, if people call or text or if you had anything you had to do, you know, I didn't have power. I was saving my battery, and people were like, yep, I get it.
Right. And people use the excuse, but use the ability to go out into the woods where there is no cell signal so that they can do the same thing. It's just the power not going out at their house.
Yeah.
Right? There are times where I'm just like, okay, let's go to the woods.
Yeah.
Because I'm done with the city for a minute.
Yeah. Well, I hope you got your fill of not city when we were in Indiana.
Not really.
Oh. I do like the woods a lot.
Right. And we go hang out on the mountain or, you know, whatever, somewhere where there's not signal. And
I think at the top of a mountain, yes. I think at the top of a mountain, seeing everything around me, like when you look out from on the top of something, that's different for me. Because I'm above it. I'm not on the ground. And then there's just horizon.
Yeah.
I'm above it. Like I'm expecting to be above everything else. I think. I don't know. I think it's just different because it's perspective.
Right.
Because I'm like up in the air rather than like down on the ground with all of the air above me.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like I'm drowning. It feels like I'm participating, I think.
Because you don't get that kind of feeling when you're in a plane. But you also can't see both sides at that one time.
That is true. That is true. But I don't get like that when we go up into the top of the Space Needle.
No.
And I can see around, or when we go to the top of a building, or when we...
It's also not the tallest building.
No, but I mean, you can see quite a bit. So I don't know. I don't know what it is.
Yeah. But with that, I would think that we need to purpose going out into the woods at least once a month.
I think so.
And just getting away from the buzz of life. Because I think even you in the woods tend to de-stress a little bit.
Yeah, to a certain extent. There's also before camping, then it's, all of the things that I think about to make sure that we're staying alive, that we're being fed, that the fire is going, that,
Yeah, but I'm talking like day trip, not necessarily camping. Because we can do a day trip once a month where we drive out to the woods somewhere, hang out, hike, do what we got to do, just be, and then drive home. Because camping is stressful.
Yeah.
I mean, as much as it is relaxing and it is nice to just sit and be for a while, there is also a lot of making sure the fire's going, make sure there's enough coals. Then you got to hang out over the fire to cook. And
yeah, and I feel like I'm cooking the entire day.
Right.
I wake up and make breakfast and then clean up from breakfast and then start prepping lunch stuff. And then I'm cooking lunch stuff. Like I am cooking all day long. I don't know how.
Part of it, though, is that we don't do peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and like hot dogs.
We should.
We should. But you also make like full blown meals, like beef stew or chili or tacos or street tacos where you're frying the taco shells and all of that stuff, and then we're cooking the meat beforehand and chopping the vegetables and just all of that stuff. A lot of the
vegetables I chop beforehand. Preparing to go camping is a lot of work.
But still, so maybe if we did like hot dogs.
Hot dogs and
peanut butter and jellies.
Yeah.
And things like that versus full-blown meals 3 times a day.
I mean, I guess that would be...
because it is kind of concerning for me because you're hanging out over a fire for hours of the day and then you're coughing like crazy.
I am allergic to smoke.
Inhalation, which went a lot better the last time that we went camping because we took your electric pressure cooker because there's an outlet close to the campsite.
Yeah.
Although... we're going to a different campsites
I
this
know.
next time.
I know.
Which means there is no
I
that.
know. I'm aware.
So we might
I'm
have
preparing my heart.
we might have to
already.
figure out some easy things.
Taking deep breaths for my lungs already. I'm preparing my lungs.
Yeah. Well, maybe we'll take some easy things this next time.
Maybe.
But in all that, we challenge you guys to also get out there, get in the woods, get that calming, or whatever gets that calming sensation for you,
Yeah.
to get the stress of this world out of you, to quiet yourself, get a little introspection, think about yourself a little bit, and then maybe connect to God and pray a little bit or read with that stress gone, just so you can get to know Him and learn about Him a little bit. I think with the stress of this world gone, it makes it easier to listen.
Yeah.
It makes it easier to understand what God is doing and what He's already given to us in His Word. Mm-hmm. That we could then understand more there, which is good about retreats, right? Because it gets you away from stuff and you learn a bunch and then
They're
you come
also
back.
typically very busy.
Yes. But at the same time, like, it gets you away from your normal so that you can hone in on some things. And I think that is a great thing. It's kind of like a daily quiet time.
Yeah.
But
I think, I mean, we're in nature quite a bit. I mean,
it helps that we have trees around our house.
right. But we like disc golf regularly. We do stuff. I think doing something once a month that is specifically designed to de-stress and disconnect.
Right.
Because anytime we go out into nature, like, we're always bringing cameras and we're bringing, like, everything because we want to document it and we want to do all of that. And so I think outside of your other, like, if you are a regular avid hiker, or if you're out and taking walks every day, or if you're out in nature all the time, specifically setting a time to just say, like, today is a day where it is specifically for disconnecting and reconnecting with the earth beneath our feet and the air around us. And
right. It's not like, it's more of like the not having something to conquer, like not having a walk to have or a hike to have to conquer that goal.
Yeah. I mean, you can go on a walk, but I don't know, maybe people need to have something to conquer. But
Maybe.
I think the purpose would be just to get out and
Just to
maybe put your feet to the ground. Mm-hmm. Remove some static electricity from your body.
Well, yeah, and just calm. Whatever can get that calm in your mind.
Yeah.
So that you can be introspective.
Yeah.
And so that you can think on things.
Maybe it's a bath for you.
Maybe
Bath
it's a
with
bath.
candles and bubbles.
Maybe it's a massage. Maybe it's, whatever that, maybe it is walk. Maybe it is a hike, because there is something very good about being physical to clear your mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But that I think would be our challenge to ourselves.
Yeah.
Is to
purpose one day where we go off grid and go specifically with the purpose.
Yep.
To just be in nature.
Yep. Just be in nature, and also, as much as we're going to want to take cameras and want to take this and that to document it, but just to leave those behind.
Or maybe say we get 5.
I see how you're trying to work this in.
You get 5 pictures. That is all. So don't waste them. but that way, like, your whole mind isn't, oh, I should take a picture of this. Oh, I should take a picture of this. It's, I've got 5 photos. Like, what is it? And I think maybe that would be good for, I mean, because my brain's going everywhere. So before we had digital cameras, you had to be very specific about what you took a picture of. I mean, you had to, like, self-edit already and be like, is that worth what it's going to cost to have this developed? Is that worth what it costs this film? Is it worth the time to set up the perfect shot? Is it worth all of that? And if it wasn't, like, you just didn't take the picture.
Right. Or even like, well, if I take this shot, then I don't have something for later.
Right. Like, is this the one that I want? Because I've only got 24 to 36 pictures on this reel.
And no other little tube of film with you.
Right? And
I've already used 10. So really I only have 14 left.
I always carried extra tubes of film with me.
Of course you did.
But at least one, because you never want to run out. But I mean, nowadays, just think about, like, our daughter graduated from high school. The amount of pictures that I took, it's a lot.
There's a thumb drive.
There's a lot. And so then you have to go back and you have to self-edit and you have to be like, okay, well, is this, I have 17 of the same thing because I didn't want to miss that moment, but which one is the best one? Maybe I'll keep 13. No, like, nobody's going to look at 13 photos, Alethea. No one's going to want to see the same thing 13 times. You need to just cut it down to one. Like, and so
I feel like you're getting a little anxious about this already. Even just sitting here talking about it.
Yeah, maybe a little bit. I just want to capture everything. I feel like photos just freeze time. They freeze life. They
capture a moment.
They take a slice of life and they leave it there for eternity. Mm-hmm. Or, like, your memory doesn't do that. Your memory fades and people forget and people get dementia and, that's always going to be there. Yeah. So, but I think giving myself a limit of, like, 5, that means I have to self-edit. That means that I have to enjoy this time. Mm-hmm. And I have to, like, when something is truly special to me, not just like, oh, that's kind of cool. Oh, we look cute with these trees. And then it's like when something is truly special, then I have to think to myself, like, is this special enough for one of my 5? Is this, Yeah. And so I think that would.
Yeah, but is it going to be like.
The whole time I'm thinking about, Is this the perfect picture? Is this the perfect picture?
When I get you a special drink and then you don't drink it for a week, but I didn't want it to be gone.
Yeah. I always leave a little extra. I didn't want to finish it because then I won't have the special thing. Well, then maybe I only take one photo.
Yeah, that may make you stress more than just taking a bunch of photos.
I don't know. We'll try it.
I guess we'll try it.
We'll try it. We'll tell you how it goes. We'll see if maybe I am stressed out the whole time about, like, is this the perfect picture? Is this the perfect time to take one? Or maybe I just get so lost in the moment that I'm like, when the perfect time happens, it'll be there and I'll be ready. Mm-hmm. I'll wear my yoga pants that have, like, the pockets on the side, so my phone will be ready. It'll be in its holster.
In its holster.
Yeah.
And Quick Draw McGraw.
Yeah. Good.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening to our ramblings about the power going out and kind of just de-stressing.
I mean, if you made it this far, good on you.
That means you need to hit the like button and definitely subscribe.
You poor souls. You poor souls.
Or maybe you found our ramblings interesting. One thing the family always says is that some people's relationships are entertaining and they're usually talking about us.
They're usually talking about us. Usually when we're not communicating effectively.
Yeah. So, thanks for joining and we will talk to you later.
Bye.